You were in California when you
No,
found
no,
that car?
no. The Stevens-Duryea came from Boulder.
The second?
Yeah, the
this-
main part of the car, the bigger part of it,
Oh, okay, so you got two, one from
Steamboat,
Logan's or Lugan's,
yeah, Lugons,
and the other one,
came originally from Boulder.
and that's the one where you didn't have you had the title and everything, or you went and got the information in Boulder, but you lost it. Oh, God.
I looked up Paul and I went to the county clerk's office in Boulder 50 years ago, and they had all of the handwritten records of registrations on automobiles. And we just started looking back through the registrations till we found a Stevens-Duryea. There was only one in Boulder. And,
One? Through all the stuff you looked for? It
well,
was just one Stevens?
yeah, there'd only be one in each town.
Whoa.
And then we got the address of the lady, that was in the 30s or 20s. We got the address from the lady whose husband had bought the car new, and went over and talked to her. And of course, in those days, hell, I was so green about cars. I didn't ask her much of anything.
God.
You know,
Yeah.
he was a mining engineer. It's like the Duryea parts up in Steamboat. I didn't ever ask them where they tore that car completely apart.
Yeah.
And what'd they do with the parts? Well, I got some of them, but what'd they do with it? I suspect that during World War II, all that aluminum, the body was aluminum, the crankcase, the transmission, I suspect they sold all of it for scrap. But they kept a lot of the car. I ended up with quite a lot of parts. As it turned out, the parts that I got that came originally from Boulder, the car had lost, or people had taken off a lot of the parts, and it was the same parts I had. It melded the two together and made one car.
Oh. So-
Because anyway, the one in Boulder, the newspaper editor, Paddock was his name. I think he'd been a governor or senator at one time, but he kept the car through World War II, and I don't know about that, how or what. But he didn't want to see it destroyed because it had quite a little historical value as being a rare old car, and they wanted it for scrap for the aluminum. Anyway, he wouldn't let it be scrapped out during World War II. And then after the war, he sold it to a friend of his, Ray Doherty, who also happened to be a good friend of mine. And Ray had a dozen cars by then, the early 50s maybe, that weren't necessarily restored, but they were in running condition. He got a 1908 or 9 Packard over by Aspen out of a garage, and hell, he just got in it and drove it.
God.
So anyway, this car was in pretty bad shape, the Duryea, and his wife kidded him about it. And he told me, he said, I'll show her I can make a profit on that car. So he sold it to a guy in San Jose, California. And that guy came clear out here and got the car and took it to California.
Huh?
Then I got interested because I already had quite a lot of parts from the car in Steamboat. And I wanted to see what a complete car looked like. In fact, I'd already tried to see if I could put together a car from parts. And I had an engine, but the engine I had was a 1921. They made a few. Duryea did after the main company went out of business. Somebody else built just a few of them.
Yeah.
And I had gotten an engine thinking I'd use it. Then after I went to California and saw that one, I realized there was a lot of the car I didn't have. So I sold the engine, and also, the fellow in California wanted $1,000 for the car.
So you looked up the name and everything from the information that the guy in Boulder had sold the car and,
Well, I knew Ray Doherty well, and he had that information.
oh yeah, I had his name, so you chased him down.
I just went out to California, Paul and I, and looked at it, and he wanted $1,000. Well, I had an engine to a Thomas Flyer, about 1908. It was a 4-cylinder engine. It was a real neat engine. The heads were cast individually in what they call a T-head engine. One valve on each side in a T shape.
Oh.
Real neat engines.
Yeah.
All of Thomas's engines. And I had bought the engine from Tom Weaver from Elk Springs. Now what the hell these people have these fancy cars out here in the West and down in Elk Springs?
Yeah.
Anyway, he had moved to Provo and took the engine with him. And I found the engine through my friend Richard Weaver, who was the nephew. Anyway, I went out and bought it for $100. And Harrow was looking all over the country. He had a dozen men doing nothing but looking for old cars. And I have no idea how in the hell they found that, but they found that engine. And went to Weaver and tried to buy it from him. They offered him $1,000. And by God, he wouldn't sell it. I hadn't picked it up yet. I'd paid him, but I hadn't picked it up. And so then, of course, I did pick it up. But when I came back from California, this story's kind of disjointed, isn't it? When I came back from California, after finding out what he wanted for the Stevens-Duryea, I stopped in Reno. I had met Hara, but had lunch one time with him and Ray Doherty. But his right-hand man, Ralph Dunwoody, I talked to him, and I sold the engine, the Thomas engine, for $1,000. Then we went back to California and got the Stevens. So I actually ended up getting that Stevens for $100.
Yeah. Cool. Then you and Paula drug it back on a trailer.
Yeah, you saw the picture. What was it, a 67 Ford or?
No, it was a 63, I think.
Ford half ton.
Something like that. Yeah.
Yeah, it was all I wanted because that car hung over the end of my trailer. I could hardly get it on there.
Was that an F-250?
Yeah, I think it was.
Oh, that's good enough to pull that trailer.
Maybe, I can't remember if it was a 250, but
Yeah.
you saw the picture. We looked it up
Yeah, that was cool.
and brought it home. And that's how I got the car. Then they had, that car came originally in with wooden wheels or wire wheels. The one up in Steamboat had wire wheels. So I had the wire wheels. The one in California came from Boulder. It had wooden wheels. And in the 30s, they couldn't buy those big 37x5 tires anymore. So they cut the rims down off and put a little 16-inch rim on it.
Oh, ugly.
Yeah, it was ugly. Because you know the car has real high fenders to accommodate those
Yeah.
37x5, and a 16 this didn't look right, but that's all they could do.
Yeah, giant wheels and tires make that car look good.
Yeah, it does. So when we got it home, we had the right wheels right off, but also there was no windshield on that car. You look in the picture of what I took of it when I got home, there was no windshield. But the one up in Steamboat that they tore up, they had taken the window out of it, the windshield, and built a cabin with that window in it. Turned it up on edge. I talked them out of it. I had to put in another window for them, and I had to have somebody make it because it was an odd size. Then the other thing that we got that we really needed, well, we needed the windshield, but about the main thing was all the upholstered material to see what it was like. that car's set outside so long, the one from Boulder, that the springs, cushions, everything were gone. There was nothing there.
Oh,
But the one that came from Steamboat, when they tore that car up, they took the entire front seat, cut it in half, and spread it out. It had two little bucket seats in the front. And they spread it out and took the big cushion out of the back and put it in between. Then they filled in the back with part of the back seat, and they had that as a couch in their house.
Oh, I remember.
And I don't know how I talked them out of that, but I did. It looked pretty good in their house at that time. Yeah, that was a leather couch. Yeah,
they wanted to be comfortable.
I get. Anyway, all of the things that I needed, I got from up in Steamboat. There was the Lugons had sold out to a man by the name of Yow. And he kept the place 10 years or 15, and he sold it. And when he had a sale, his sale was an auction with old Claypool. So I told Paula that I wanted to go to that auction because when they were digging out all the junk and cleaning that place up, they'd find something I missed. And sure enough, in a wooden nail barrel full of curtain rods they'd stuck in it was the lap robe rail that went in the back behind the front seat.
Oh,
Leather
whoa.
covered.
We'll show that on our next video when we go up there. We gotta show the gas gauge, the rail, and some other things.
They also had in a bucket of junk, bolts, and the amp meter.
Oh, that's right. That's a cool one too.
And it was in better shape than the one that was on the car. So there were 3 or 4 things that really mattered, especially the wheels, the upholstery,
Yeah.
and the radiator was still with that. And when we fixed the radiator on the car, they had replaced that radiator with one from a 13 Stevens.
Oh, that's what that is.
And they had, and the radiator connections on the bottom were on the wrong side for that 13. But what they did was run a hose and some joints, elbows, across in front of the engine.
From the plumbing shop.
Yeah, because the water pump on the 15 was on the left, but it was on the right on the 13.
Oh,
They'd ruined that radiator, somebody had, and they couldn't find the right radiator for a 15, but they found one for a 13. And we unsoldered those connections on that 13 radiator and took them off the 15 because we didn't use the 15 because there's a big chunk of lead they'd fill
yeah.
they'd fix the radiator.
It was ugly.
I had the radiator though,
Yeah.
several things.
Well, Lou, thanks for that story. That's cool. There's lots of more things we got to put on the video, but that's good for this session. That's, it says 163 minutes. That's a lot.